In today's podcast, I wanted to go into a topic, a question that I keep getting asked again and again by so many students who join me live on Instagram. Every single live it comes up. I did a live recently with my students, with my followers, discussing this topic, sharing my own opinions as a teacher, someone who saw firsthand what works and what doesn't work, and getting feedback from my students as to what strategies they follow to move themselves from, whatever level they're at to a higher level, potentially to fluency, if that's their goal. And also I picked up on quite a few great techniques and tips from my followers. So I'm putting together a blog, an article that combines my thoughts on vocabulary learning process. But I wanted to come here and talk to you as well on the podcast, as I know it's a great way for many of you to improve your listening skills. It's super, super helpful. So I hope you appreciate that going alongside with the article as well. So, without further ado, let's dive into common mistakes that students make. And if you're one of them, don't feel bad, okay? You are at a stage that you are supposed to be in your journey, and it takes time to get where you need to get. Sometimes you have to get it wrong to get it right. I messed up things so many times in my life before I found a way that works. So if you are a student that's making those mistakes, that's fine, just as long as you pick up some new tips and useful, hopefully, advice, which can help transform your learning and make it more successful. So, mistake number 1 is endless lists of words. So you read an article or you watch something and you create a long list of words, translating from English into your native language, or maybe putting a definition in, or maybe putting in an example, which improves things quite a bit. But it doesn't work to learn long lists of words, which are random, which are not connected. You don't use the language like that when you speak. You remember phrases, you remember words that have some sort of connection to your life, to your situations. So you want to make sure that you focus your attention. I'm going to get into that a little bit more in just a second. So the other thing that, I mentioned the translation. All of my followers said that they should never translate into their native language. They should always use English definitions and meanings or synonyms in order to understand a new word that they come across. And the answer is no. Sorry, it's not black and white. I'm not advocating to completely abandon translation into your own language, because it can help you clarify and specify exactly what a new word means. Because the definition might give you a good idea. You might be sort of circling around the exact meaning, but just sometimes that translation can really help you nail the understanding of a new word, and there's nothing wrong with that. So don't feel like you have to completely move away from ever translating into your native language ever again. It helps when you start thinking in English, absolutely. That is the root of fluency. But that's not to say you must completely abandon ever translating ever again. And I really wanted to emphasize that. And I know that from my own students learning, students who are upper intermediate, advanced, sometimes, they will translate, they will look up the meanings, they will look up the definitions and synonyms, they'll look up the example sentences for the context, but they will, if they're still not 100% certain, they will then go and translate into their own native language. Yes, the process is longer, you might say, but learning, there are no super shortcuts in learning, and that will help you remember that word much, much better. Not only will you understand the meaning, you will know the translation, you will see it in the context, you'll be able to build a better emotional connection to it. And that brings me to the next point. Emotional connection, guys, is everything when it comes to learning new words. And I'm not talking about elementary, basic beginner level. I'm talking when you go into sort of intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced level. You need to feel that word. You need to connect it to your personal situation, to your life, to your past experiences, and to imagine when you might use this word or expression in the future. And you go into sort of subconscious of your learning. It goes beyond the logical, the just memorization. It goes into something your body reacts to. It's not just your brain, it's your body, it's your subconscious. You feel that word, you accept it internally, and you feel when to use it. And that is truly gold. That is what's going to help you to use it appropriately in the right moment and to never forget this word again. All right? The other thing I wanted to address is, you have to ask, why are you learning this word? That goes back to learning lists of words. Are you learning it because it looks beautiful, it looks pretty, because it's an idiom and it looks cool? I always say never, 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 learn lots of idioms if your intermediate grammar is still, is patchy. Don't learn C1, C2 level words if your upper intermediate grammar is still patchy. You might pick up a few words, that's not a problem, but you shouldn't make that the goal, the objective of your learning. I've seen students who get really proud of learning these difficult words. Maybe it's a sense of achievement that drives them of learning these unusual words, and they feel they sound more fluent by using them alone. But no, it's a cherry on the top. Those C1, C2 level words, those idioms that you learn are a cherry on top of a cake. You need to build the cake first. You cannot have a cherry on the top with the cake falling apart and holes in it, it's going to collapse. You can't do that. So I just want to emphasize, it might sound boring. I think another thing, it's more exciting to learn difficult words and idioms. But you have to get the fundamentals right first. And that goes back to grammar, guys. I'm sorry to say, if you don't like hearing it, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm saying it how it is. I'm saying exactly how it is. That you need to address the basics first, learn the vocabulary as well. You need to learn the common collocations, the high frequency vocabulary, not the rare words. And, I had a comment as well on my live going that, we actually need to learn vocabulary for IELTS or for whatever English exam that you're going to take, the language exam. And yes, that's true, but they're not going to only mark you on using sophisticated words. They're going to mark you on fluidity, ability to express ideas, and that comes down to being able to use simple language correctly as well. You're not going to get marked on the learning complex words, So, the other great point. I'm trying to cram in as much as possible. I'm just looking at the time, and there's a time limit on this podcast. So do you need to force it? Do you need to push yourself when your brain is fried, as one of the followers said, and, you're completely exhausted? And I know the pressures of life. I understand that you have pressures of exams sometimes and you have no choice but to do it. You have to push yourself. Okay, but if you can choose when you learn, if you don't have that extreme time pressure, don't just follow that common advice that tells you must study before you go to bed, just before you sleep. You must study first thing in the morning, or you must do it like this. No, you need to feel your body. You need to feel the reaction. You need to analyze, is it working for you? Perhaps it's not. Just because someone told you to do it and it's not working for you, then obviously you need to adapt it and change it. Listen to yourself, listen to your body, be intuitive about it. Trust yourself. You know the best time for you. If you're an early bird and you feel super energetic in the morning, learn the new words in the morning. I often love revisiting words or something when I'm in a shopping queue or line, as Americans say it. Because I feel like such a waste of time just standing and, waiting impatiently when it's your turn. So I prefer to use this time productively. Makes the time pass quickly, and I'm actually making use of that, unproductive and otherwise wasteful time of standing and waiting. So yeah, I think those are the major things I wanted to cover in today's podcast. I'm glad I'm getting through it. Well, hey. Just the final thing, I think sometimes people say, I have never really seen this piece of grammar. I've never really seen this word or this expression before. And the amazing thing is your brain really filters things out sometimes. And not sometimes, always actually. You cannot, our brain, our visual sort of perception, we cannot see everything immediately at the same time. So we do filter out information, and the amount of times my students, when I didn't see this grammar, I've never seen this grammar before, I've never seen this piece of phrasal verb or vocabulary before, suddenly they learn it and they start seeing it everywhere, and they come back to me later and go, oh my God, I started hearing it, I started reading it, I started seeing it. So that's the amazing thing that, that's another way that you should learn vocabulary, maybe revisit what you listen to again, or read it again, or try to find similar materials so that you can see it in the context a few more times, and that can really commit it to your memory, okay? So one thing I haven't mentioned, and I know a lot of people are doing these days, is using apps instead of lists. And I'm not saying abandon your notebooks. I know some people learn better when they write things down, myself included. It's just something about physical movement on paper. It commits it to my brain a bit better. But, the digital tools are there to help you. And the big help that they create that they have or provide is that when you write things on a piece of paper, whether this word is difficult or easy, you will see it the exactly same amount of times. Okay, unless you rewrite on another piece of paper. But the digital thing, Anki particularly, a tool that I highly recommend. It's free for Android and Windows users. It's you need to pay if you're an Apple user. You only revisit the words which are more difficult, and you rate that yourself, basically. And the words which are easy, you see them less. So that selective exposure to words which are more difficult or less difficult can help as well, because we have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of energy, and finally we have a limited amount of willpower that we have to focus on things. So you need to use your resources wisely, okay? You need to try to find a way to maximize your learning. If you're going to spend time, spend it correctly, efficiently, so that, after spending lots of hours on learning, you don't go, oh my God, I'm still not progressing. I'm so fed up. It doesn't work for me. I'm not good at languages. No, you don't have the right tools, perhaps knowledge, perhaps your approach. So if you change something, I promise you that you will start seeing results. Okay. So the power is in your hands, just analyze, assess. I truly hope that I've helped you today with this podcast to realize maybe some mistakes you were making, or if you were doing things right, great. It's a confirmation that you're doing things right. You just need to keep going, and that's great too. Thank you for listening to me today. I wish you the best of luck in your learning journey. Take care.